Hello, second and third graders. Okay, this week we are talking about leaves. We're going to be drawing realistic leaves. I have added a whole bunch of leaves into the slides so you can look right at the slides and we don't have to go outside. In a perfect world, you would go outside with me, we'd collect the leaves, and then we'd draw them. Okay, I'm looking at the first slide when I'm doing this. I'm going to actually follow what I'm seeing on the leaf. Because I cannot show you my screen at the same time, I am going to draw this leaf right here. So I'm going to start at my point, and I'm going to do the basic shape first. I could get that little bit of jagged detail, comes down in. I have a stem coming off here. That stem goes right up to the top, because that becomes the vein. And then I follow that zigzag line back around and in right there. I'm going to go ahead and add some of those veins. I don't need to add all of them, but these are the areas we're going to be adding detail to eventually. So I'm going to leave that just like that for now. So I know if I were to make it more realistic, I would need to go in and probably add more lines in between for those veins. Okay, this one is a little more tricky, but it's a similar process, right? I'm going to look at this. I'm going to start at the tip right up here, and I'm going to draw jagged lines going down. There's a little bit of a bump, second little bit of a bump. I'm right here now. Goes way in, then comes out. Now, what happens, Miss Katie, if I don't do it right the first time? Well, no big deal. This is our rough draft. I'm right here. Right? This is my rough draft. If it's not the way you want it the first time, you can go ahead and flip your paper over. You can go ahead and flip your paper over and trace from the first time and make edits that you want to change. Going way down. And the way I'm doing it, it's really hard to make both sides exactly the same, especially when you're holding down your other leaf. So one side when I drew, I made it a little bigger, so I have a couple choices here. I could take this and erase it out and then put it back in here and just shift the base of where it is. I'd say that looks pretty good. If I think one side needs a little bit more changing, I could take my eraser in and change it just a tiny bit. I'm looking at this side now to try and match it. And try a little bit like that. If you still don't like it, you can go ahead again and flip it over. So I see these veins, guys. I just am going to get the big one. So I know there's a big one going from here into the center. There's a big one going from that same junction right over to there. It's going way up here. I have another one. There's one that goes in from there. And then I'm going to at least get the same ones on the other side. This will help me when I get those patterns in. Okay, I have 2 leaves. I'm going to just focus on 2 for right now. So then if I like the lines I have, I'm going to just go over, carefully staying on those lines. Okay, when you get to this point, guys, make sure you erase out any extra lines you have, so it has a neat finish. Remember, always draw lightly till it is right. Once you have all your extra pencil lines out, you're going to start adding your pattern. There's lots of different ways you can add pattern, guys. You can use lines, you can use shapes. So you're going to just start. So I want to add some curved lines for my pattern here. And then I'm going to go the other direction with my curved line. I'm going to fill up this whole area with curved lines going back and forth. Now, these details are going to get pretty tiny. And so if the inside of your leaf ends up being just in pencil, that's okay. Instead of it being done in Sharpie, make your life easier Like if you see that and you say, oh my goodness, Miss Katie, I can't do that in Sharpie. That's okay. You don't need to. So now this one I'm gonna actually do polka dots with circles around it. Whole thing is filled up. So you're going to continue creating different patterns on your leaf in each section. Okay guys, after you get your patterns on your leaf, you can start to add the warm colors. So don't lose your detail of your pattern when you add color. You don't have to add it everywhere. Just choose some of the areas to add the color. So maybe I would add it in here and around the outside, but I wouldn't have to color in all the pieces. So you are going to be, if you choose to shade it, put Sharpie on the inside, that's fine. But just make sure that you don't lose your pattern. I'm using yellow and then I'll switch to red and orange to add color into these spaces. Some pieces of mine are still going to stay white, and that works just fine. Switch to orange, choosing some spots that make sense to color. Some bursts of color here. So guys, that's one way of doing it. It doesn't have to be fully colored in, or you could go ahead and color it all the way in. If you choose to add Sharpie for the inside, it should look something like that. Okay? That is another way of doing it, adding the color that way, okay? So they look a little different. One looks a little softer with the pencil lines, but you are welcome to do your art either way.